Good morning, everybody. I like it better. My name is Omer Gozin. I lead our efforts in new materials and packaging, food and beverage, and sustainability. And welcome to one of our biggest events of the year, Zero Plastic Waste. How many of you have heard about the big plastics problem? But how many of you are scared of plastic? Or should we be scared of plastic? Okay, so today is dedicated to understanding plastics value chain, and we have a lot of familiar faces and new attendees around here too. And I know that I've had discussions with most of you around plastics, and there's a lot of exciting initiatives going on all around the world. But not a day goes by that a big corporation makes an announcement on that they're parting away with plastics. And yesterday morning, when you woke up, probably you saw the news that I saw too, that San Francisco International International Airport will be banning the sales of plastic bottles. So you have to bring your own bottle that is reusable so that you could fill it up with the filters that they had set up. I've been doing that for the past 2 years, and I tend to shy away from plastic bottles too. But also, there's a lot of good things about plastics too, if we can utilize it right. So today, we're dedicating it to, we have corporates here, and we have startups. We're going to discuss about this big problem. I know that we're going to maybe make an indent pretty soon about this, but at the same time, it is better than just turning away from the problem. Right? We have a lot of great startups. So at Plug and Play, I know that momentarily, as I welcome our CEO and founder, Saeed Hamidi here, is going to also talk about the importance of plastics and sustainability for us at Plug and Play. But yesterday, we had 2 selection days for new materials and packaging and food and beverage. We had 50 startups. And from the corner of every startup solution, that touches into sustainability. And plastics is just one part of it. So we're extremely excited. We have 16 startups that are going to be talking about how they can recognize the plastic waste, collect and manage it, and convert it into post-use plastics so that can be put back into the stream. So with that said, what I would like to do is, please would like to welcome our CEO and founder, Mr. Saeed Hamidi, and talk about what he thinks about our sustainability efforts and everything else is going on in the world. And he's a plastics guy himself. So
Thank you, Omar.
thank you, Saeed.
Thank you. Yesterday, I was talking to a gentleman in Sao Paulo, Brazil. He was an incredible successful man. He ran the largest bank in Brazil, then was part of the whole financial institution. Then as he retired, he purchased the private school. I think it's called Spreta. It's a business school of about 5,000 students per year in Sao Paulo. And he said, I love to teach people, give back. He said the traditional universities in Brazil do not teach the entrepreneurship or the way I think he studied at Harvard. So he said the way that Harvard or Stanford teach people. And quite frankly, after 5 years running the university, he donated it as a non-profit. And when I asked him why, he told me, Saeed, I had enough money to live for a couple of generations. I like to do something that I leave a legacy. And I like to give back. So just as Omar mentioned to you, I have said it on stage before, my father and my family, we used plastics to produce shoes, to produce bags, going back close to 80 years. Mostly PVC initially, but then polyethylene and on. And then in my personal life, I started working with ExxonMobil in 1979. with a plant in Baton Rouge that produces Paxson material. Like if you ask me, I love Paxson material. It is the best polyethylene for blow molding of bottles, primarily milk and juice bottles. And I have built that business to the size, primarily in Mexico, that we produce from Paxson material about 5 million bottles a day. And it's been going on at least for the last 10 years. The good news is because in Mexico, they tell me the garbage industry is controlled by the mafia because there is enough money in the garbage that they control it. They recycle over 85% of those bottles. And quite frankly, I think we can do that times and times over again. I had my friend from Brussels tell me in one of the regions, they are up to 90% recycled from the garbage. Am I correct on that? So going back to my story of my friend in Sao Paulo, Brazil, I am truly passionate about making a positive impact to reducing plastic waste. Quite frankly, some of the environmentalists I talk to, I don't understand them. We cannot do without plastics. We cannot have food packaging without plastics. We cannot have milk packaging, juice packaging. It's just we have to, as a team, as a platform, work toward better reusing of the plastic. And I am, again, some of you kind of have heard me to say I've changed my name from Saeed Amidi to Saeed Sustainability Amidi. Perhaps one of these days I will legally change it. But also I asked permission from David from ExxonMobil if I can share this good news with you, because when I saw him today in the hallway, he showed me his new business card, which is ExxonMobil Venture, to turn plastic waste or other waste into monomer or feedstock for petrochemical. And I think that is a big news. I think if a company of that stature is looking at this seriously, it's really going to happen this time. It's not a PR, still be like the good PR, don't get me wrong, but it is really, we want to make a positive impact. And I always like to set crazy goals, and then please hold me to it in 5 years. I would like, with the initiative that is happening in this room, and it will happen in Far East and Europe and all around the world, that together we can reduce at least 10% of the plastic waste into recycling or to alternative fuel. And again, I love scorecards. I promise you we will do this at least once a quarter, and we will report to you how many projects we are involved with. I am committed to do 20 seed fund investments this year, and then to hopefully help them raise additional money to scale and to solve this problem. But it is really an honor to have you here. Thank you so much for coming. Some people came from Israel, Australia, Houston, and let's do this together. Thank you.
Thank you, Saeed. So first of all, everyone, welcome today. Very excited to have you all here. My name is Matthew Claxton. I'm the director of our new sustainability program here at Plug and Play that we just launched officially on May 14th that we're very excited about. So today we're here to showcase a lot of very innovative and exciting startups from all over the world. So Saeed mentioned, Australia, Israel. We also have some from EU, South America, Canada, and obviously the US. So very excited about today. So I just want to give you kind of a quick overview about Plug and Play, why we're here, what we're doing here, and ultimately the goal of today. So Plug and Play for the sustainability program, we're focusing on these subcategories of sustainability. So looking at water, biomaterials, sustainable manufacturing, sustainable supply chain, plastics, recycling and upcycling, and how the Plug and Play impact can make a difference out into the world. So how can we bring startups from all over the world that may not be recognized right away into our ecosystem and connect them with our corporate partners and our partners in the VC community to expand and grow and succeed. So the way we got to these kind of subcategories of sustainability is we looked at the UN 17 SDGs. So there are sustainability development goals and how we can actually work with those and make an impact. So for today, on reducing plastic waste or ending it, we're going to focus on these 5 categories. So quality education, how can we educate the public on what to do with their plastics, on alternatives, on methods to reduce their consumption of plastic waste altogether. Clean water, how can we prevent plastic from ending up in our rivers and our oceans. Also looking at laundry, how can we prevent microfibers from ending up into our waterways and methods like that. We look at infrastructure, how can we impact the waste management facilities, how can we impact collections and the existing infrastructure that it's easier to collect this plastic waste and it can get to the right facilities where it can actually be recycled or turned into fuels. We want to look at, again, the oceans and then partnerships. So the reason we're all here today is to see how we can all partner together. So my role in Plug and Play is I'm one of the ventures people, so I actually go out and scout the startups from all over the world that are solving these problems, that are working on these technologies, bring them into our ecosystem, and connect them with corporates, VCs, nonprofits, because everyone partnering together is really where we can make this impact. So we all know about the global plastic crisis. We're seeing it on the streets everywhere. We're seeing it in our oceans. We see news articles and publications all the time, pictures with how much plastic is really out there, how it's just winding up in these different areas. And it can seem very daunting, and it can seem like there's no real good solution for it. I live in Oakland, and I see tons of plastic debris on the highways, on the streets, and it gets very sad for me. I grew up in Los Angeles surfing, and I'd run into plastic waste in our ocean all the time. And so the plastic waste in our ocean is actually how I got started as a chemical engineer working in sustainability. So during my undergrad, I was actually a sports medicine major, and decided I'm not really that happy with it. I came across this nonprofit called Clean Ocean International. Their whole goal is to go out into the ocean, collect plastic waste and debris, turn it into fuel, and then actually drive ships with that fuel. So I started out as an intern. It was a small nonprofit located in Santa Cruz, where I was going to school. And I became very excited with the technology that I saw there. So what they were doing, this plastic to fuel process. So even though it was invented, by World War II time, how it's advanced and the excitement that people are having around solving this global crisis. So from there, I actually shifted and was recruited to NASA. Worked for them for about 2 years, working on sustainable biofuels and advanced water purification systems, and then started my own company where we did advanced wastewater treatment, water recycling, desalination, but we also did large-scale plastic to fuel and tire to fuel. One of the companies I was part of was this one called QCI, Quad City Innovations, out of Detroit, Michigan. So this was my first exposure to really large-scale plastic to fuel conversion. And this was back in about 2013, 2014, and it's just been amazing to see how much the technology has progressed over the years, how it's advanced, how many more people are working on it, and just the collaboration overall in these spaces. So while working at QCI, I learned a lot about the overall plastics waste stream. So what the problems are, where people are facing a lot of difficulties, where are people looking for solutions, and it allowed me to get a great understanding of the overall industry that we're seeing. So I want to kind of break plastic waste into a few different subsectors today. So looking at how we can collect it, how we can find the different materials that are on the ground in the ocean, and collect it much more efficiently. How can we transport it to the facilities that actually can deal with this plastic waste, as opposed to maybe someone, picking it up, putting it in the back of their truck, and then, just putting it into a recycling bin? How can we do sorting? So, a lot of plastic that can be recycled is ending up in landfills because it's not properly sorted. So how can we address this need and get those, precious materials out of the waste stream and back to being recycled? And then how can we create new products with that waste? So how can we take this existing product that a lot of us just, clarify as trash or something that has no longer value, get it to the right people that can create a brand new product from it? And then how can we create alternatives to plastics? So looking at biomaterials or looking at reusable solutions. So, I like to think about this, if we're gonna solve it, we need to start local. So I mentioned, I see a lot of plastic waste in Oakland, and I wanted to showcase a startup that unfortunately couldn't be with us here today. Jeff Kirshner from Literati, he was here for our April 3rd and our May 14th event, where we were showcasing sustainability solutions. His whole company is around crowdsourcing plastic waste collection. So what Literati does is it's basically a glorified Instagram account. So you get a group of people together, we call them the Literati community. You have them go out to a beach or a river, a creek, or just an area where they are seeing a lot of plastic waste. You take a picture of that waste with your phone. It can geotag it, so it says there's plastic here at this location. Here is maybe the brand associated with it or where it's coming from, and then they're able to collect it and get it to the right facilities. So this just started out as an Instagram account, and it's grown at a global scale. So now there's a lot more meetups happening around it, people getting together, collecting trash, collecting waste plastics from the roads or from the rivers, and putting them into the receptacles that they need. But what this does, or what they've done, is able to showcase us where we're seeing this plastic waste, not only here in the US, but all over the world. And then we can focus our attention and say, how can we fix the existing infrastructure so that plastic is not ending up into our rivers or our roads? And how can we collect it so that it's actually reused again? And so kind of going at a macro scale, zooming out a little bit, there's a lot of great initiatives that have been happening from larger organizations, corporates. So I just want to kind of showcase a few. So the Alliance to End Plastic Waste, which is a combination of about 40 companies from all over the world, a lot of different industries, are pledging $1.5 billion into this to fight plastic waste, to see how they can invest in solutions and work with startups, work with other partners to end plastic waste altogether. Brightmark Energy, which is actually just down the road from us, invested $260 million into the large-scale plastic to fuel plant out in Indiana. These plants are actually very exciting. There's another one about an hour and a half away from here from Fulcrum Bioenergy that's taking food and plastic waste and turning it into jet fuel. So they partnered with Virgin to run their planes on waste material. San Francisco Airport, as Omer and Saeed just mentioned, they've just banned plastic waste. This actually just came out maybe 3 days ago. Some of you may be familiar with San Francisco Airport. You may hate it if you've flown into it. You might be flying out of there tonight, so you'll get to experience the airport by itself. And lastly, Walmart, just announcing they're looking at how they can reduce their plastic waste in their packaging, how they can become much more sustainable. It's one of the largest companies in the world, so a player like Walmart dedicating and pledging to ending plastic waste is a huge accomplishment. So it's going to take kind of two different things, integration and innovation. So integrating, what I mean by that is, kind of like what Plug and Play is doing here, bringing startups, VCs, nonprofits, and larger corporations together to see how they can collaborate to ultimately solve one goal. So this is actually what Plug and Play does on a regular basis. We have 30 offices around the world. We function in a lot of different verticals. This program, sustainability, we want to be the largest and have the biggest impact in the world. And we want to bring these stakeholders together so that we can actually solve these problems. And lastly, innovation. And innovation is why we're all here today. We're here to see 15 amazing startups from all over the world showcasing how they are tackling plastic waste, whether it's doing chemical recycling, plastic to fuel, biomaterials, reusability, track and trace of waste material, collections, or advanced sorting. So today, we're going to have a great showcase of startups. So we're going to do 8 in the morning. We'll take a break for lunch. We'll do a panel discussion around how corporate startups and VCs are tackling plastic waste and what they're doing in their efforts. And then we'll have another 7 startups in the afternoon. So with that being said, I would like to start off with our first startup, Doug from Circular.